Great and glorious rising. Good morning, all hail. Good
Likewise.
afternoon, good evening uh, to our community, those that are with us in the Zoom room, those that are following us on Facebook. Just give me one moment as we prepare to begin today. We are Triumph, the Church of the New Age, and we are not yesterday's church, although we are celebrating 122 years. This month, officially it was January the 20th, but we are the church of this age, the New Age. The present, we represent the past, the present, and the future. Indeed, we are very thankful for being here on this Sunday. It's cold and snowy where I'm at on the East Coast. It's rather frigid. I hope where you're at, you're warm and safe and you're not traveling. To our team, I want to just welcome you. I got to say a shout out to Nadia, who crossed over to another birthday last month. So just happy birthday to Nadia. She is also away traveling, so just happy traveling and safe passageway to her, to Wesley, who's coming to us from California, where he has a little better temperatures than we do today. Welcome, Wesley. So good to see you in the new year. Mother Julie, who's on the East
Yes.
Coast, but a little bit away from me. Welcome. And Brenda, who I saw her coming in, I know she's here somewhere. And I think she's in Boston today, but I know they have a lot of snow also and cold. So just welcome everyone. As we get started, I'm just so grateful again for this year that we began a few weeks ago, 2026, as we're anticipating just awesome things this year. As I begin this year, I shared that this was the year of community, the year of us connecting one with the other, heart to heart, mind to mind, spirit to spirit. This is not the year for us to be going in our separate silos, but it's the year that we're to come together because that is where our strength lies. That is where and how we will overcome and move through this storm, this, figuratively speaking, this storm that we are in the midst of right now. So I just want to begin before we officially start our gathering today with a brief word that reflects on Triumph's 122 year anniversary. So let me just set up some context for you. You think about 122 years, if you're not someone that's a history buff, history kind of goes over your head. I remember when my youngest daughter was in elementary school, maybe the first or second grade, she was learning about Black history and she was learning about the period of slavery in this country. And she came home from school so excited about what she was learning. And she looked at me and she said, Mommy, were you a slave? And I was like, no. Our ancestors were, but I was not alive during that period of time. She had no concept of history and what that meant to be, say, 100, 150 years prior. So often it's a little challenging to think and conceptualize about what yesterday was, apart from the time that we grew up in. So let me just set a little context for this 122-year history that Triumph is celebrating. 1904 is the year. And the world has changed so much since the church opened its doors at 12 o'clock in January 20th of 1904. In fact, in this country, the United States, there were only 45 states, not 50. Since then, we've had Oklahoma, New Mexico, Arizona, Alaska, and Hawaii join the Union. So, a very different landscape, 1904. Theodore Roosevelt was the president, and he had became the president in 1901 after the assassination of, do you know who that was? McKinley, who was assassinated while serving as presidency. Actually, he was in New York State when he was assassinated on
Yeah.
September the 6th, 1901. Roosevelt succeeded him and then was reelected on his own merit in November of 1904. You may know also, you may not know, and this is a statistic that I think is relevant for our contemporary time today, that in 1904, the age of consent, now the age of consent, because this is a Sunday morning broadcast, age of consent means a time when you can legally engage in intimate relationships. So I think the
Mm-hmm.
adults in the room will understand what I'm saying.
Mm.
So in 1904, the age of consent in the U.S. was 10 years old.
Wow.
In all but a few states where it was 12 years old. Delaware had the lowest age of consent, which was 7 years old.
Mm.
122 years ago, y'all. Today it's between 16 and 18 in all of the 50 states. The average life expectancy, let's think about this also, in 1904 was 47 years old. I mean, I should be dead based on that. It was 47 years old. Nadia, you got about 17 years left.
Mm.
Based on 47 years old. The leading causes of death were pneumonia, influenza, tuberculosis, diarrhea, followed by heart disease and stroke.
Mm.
Today, the average age in the U.S. is 78.4 years. You got a few more years, Nadia, to go. And that differs slightly more for women and slightly less for men. And then it differs based on whether you're African American, Hispanic, etc. The leading causes of death today: heart disease, cancer, unintentional injuries, car accidents, etc., stroke, chronic respiratory diseases. Something that was interesting: Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's wasn't something that was diagnosed at that time. When I was growing up, we used to say that, we had old folks who didn't remember things, or grandparents, or uncles, or great uncles, or aunties, or whatever. And we never thought of it as a disease. They were just getting older and they didn't remember stuff. Today, in the top 10 leading causes of death, suicide exists. Now, you would think that the world today is a better place to live in than it was in 1904, but suicide didn't even make the list back then.
Mm.
This is also interesting, given our current climate. Marijuana, heroin, and morphine were all available over the counter at the neighborhood pharmacy.
Wow.
According to one pharmacist writing at the time, quote, heroin clears the complexion, gives buoyancy to the mind, regulates the stomach and bowels, and is, in fact, a perfect guardian of health. Who wants to go back to 1904? Throughout the U.S., just a few more I'm going to just share with you, because I want to create an energy that you can sense what the world was like 122 years ago. Throughout the U.S., there were only 8,000 cars. My dad, who was actually born in 1898, before 1904, would recall to us, his children, the first time he saw an automobile in his town as a little boy. He remembered the first time he saw one. There were only about 8,000 throughout the country. Only 114 miles of paved roads, with the maximum speed limit in most cities 10 miles an hour. Today, there's almost 300 million cars on the road in the U.S. Another one, only about 14% of homes had an indoor bathtub. My mother grew up in a house where they had an outhouse. They didn't have a toilet in the house. They didn't have flushing water for sewage inside the home. Her childhood was in a house where she went outside in the yard to use the bathroom. She was born in 1920. Today, our babies, only about 8% of folks had telephones. That wasn't something, it wasn't a telephone, say, in the house like we have it now. You had to climb up on a pole. And it was a community phone, a party line. Today, our babies, our little ones, I think they come out of the womb with a cell phone in their hand. And most of us don't move through our house without taking our cell phone with us. It has become a part of our bodies. The average wage in the United States was 22 cents an hour, with the average worker earning somewhere between 2 and 400 a year.
Wow.
I want to say something about immigration. In 1904, because immigration is such a hot topic now, in 1904, post Emancipation Proclamation, about 40 years, 40 plus years, when free black slave labor was no longer available as it had been in this country, immigration began to surge post slavery because now you needed people to work and build this country where formerly enslaved blacks that did this for several hundred years. Now you didn't have this free labor market. So we see from the late 1800s into 1900 that 12 million people arrived in the United States as immigrants. Most of them were from Germany, Ireland, and England.
I wanted you to make some.
The onset of the Russo-Japanese War in 1904 forced many Jews to leave Europe, and they migrated to the United States. Just a couple more, because it's fascinating to me. I'm a history buff, so I hope you're getting a context for the world 122 years ago. This was post-penicillin, post-antibiotics. In fact, 1904 was when the research began, which eventually led to the discovery of penicillin in 1928. For those of you that are New Yorkers, the first line of the New York City subway opened in 1904. In 1904, it was when the Wright brothers had their early gliders. We didn't have airplanes yet, but that early aviation technology began to take root. The status of black folks in this country. Well, it's reported that there were 76 lynchings of black folks in 1904 in this country. The black codes that were enacted after the Civil War maintained white supremacy and control over black labor. Black imprisonment and forced slave labor because of imprisonment and these black codes was a way of ensuring that there was another free labor market. Many blacks began to migrate from the South to the North and to the West. Detroit, Chicago, New York, California. 1904, the NAACP was founded. It was in this climate that Father E.D. Smith, from 1897, when he began to have the vision of this church, eventually led to the doors of this church being opened on January 20th in 1904. The question is, what will the next 100 years be like? What is the direction of the technology? What will the evolving role of AI be in our lives? I'll tell you, I'm so confused now. I don't know on YouTube whether it's real music or it's AI music. I don't know when I'm looking at social media, is this the real person talking or not? Someone posted a clip of Martin Luther King's speech on the March on Washington. And I've heard that speech so many times, I almost know verbatim. But the words that was coming out of his mouth that sounded like him was not what he said. Said, how confusing now is AI that we can take someone's image and their voice and give them a whole nother speech. How will this generation know what is truth and what is not? What is the future of the church? Will there be a church as we know it 100 years from now? Will there be a need for a church 100 years from now? That's a whole different question. Two very different questions. As we embark upon today, this is our Women in Rescue Missionary Union service traditionally. Mother Julie will share more about that as we begin. But as we focus today intentionally on women and women's wisdom, it is in this climate of this evolving world, 122 years, when women did not have the right to vote in 1904, not until 1920, when women's voices in many sacred religious places was not heard or honored. It's in this climate 122 years later that we want to use this time to highlight triumph today how it is the church of today, even though Father Smith is not here. And he would not recognize, I don't think, the world we live in. He did prophesy today. And he did foretell of many of the things that we're seeing happening in our world as of now. Think about, what will the world look like 100 years from now? Will there still be a church? Will there be a need for a church? We're going to